It was my birthday, and I expected something simple. At 38, I wasn't a fan of big celebrations anymore. A good glass of wine and a quiet night with Ethan, my husband, were all I wanted. But Ethan had other plans. He'd been cryptic all week, dropping hints and saying only that I should prepare for a night I'd never forget. When I came downstairs, ready for dinner, I found Ethan standing in the living room, smiling in that way that always made my heart flutter. He was impeccably dressed, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Beside him, to my surprise, was James, his best friend. James and Ethan had been inseparable since college, and over the years, he'd become my friend too. He was charming, funny, and often the peacemaker during the rare arguments Ethan and I had, but I hadn't expected him to be part of the evening. "James?" I asked, trying to mask my surprise. "You're joining us?" Ethan grinned. "He's part of the surprise." I laughed, still confused, but decided not to question it. "All right then, what's the plan?" "Trust me," Ethan said, taking my hand. They led me to the backyard, which Ethan had transformed into a magical setting. Lights twinkled in the trees, and a table for 3 was set under the stars. A dinner outdoors, I thought, still curious about what else was in store. As we ate, conversation flowed naturally. James was as witty as ever, and Ethan seemed more relaxed than usual. The wine helped, and soon we were laughing and sharing stories. Yet, beneath the laughter, there was an undercurrent of something unspoken, a tension I couldn't quite place. After dinner, Ethan stood and said, "Now comes the second part of the surprise." He returned with a bottle of champagne and 3 glasses, while James adjusted the music to something softer. When Ethan poured the champagne, he sat beside me and held my hand. "Lauren," he began, "you know how much I love you. And tonight, for your birthday, I want to do something special, something you'd never expect." My curiosity turned to nervousness. I glanced at him, then at James, who sat calmly across the table, his eyes steady on me. "Okay," I murmured. "What exactly are you thinking?" Ethan exchanged a quick glance with James before continuing. "Our marriage has always been built on trust, right? And on exploring things together that challenge us and help us grow." I nodded slowly, unsure of where this was going. "So, I thought maybe we could try something new, something that pushes the boundaries of what we share." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "James and I have talked, and he's here because we trust him, and because he cares about you too." My heart raced, and the air around us seemed heavier. For a moment, I couldn't fully grasp what Ethan was suggesting. But then, it hit me like a wave. "Ethan," I began, my voice barely above a whisper. "Are you saying—" "I'm saying I just want to give you something special, something we'll only do if you want it." A long silence followed. James continued to watch me, but there was no pressure in his gaze, only patience, as if he was waiting for me to decide in my own time. Ethan's hand on mine was warm, steady, reassuring. My first instinct was to pull back. This was something so unexpected, so far outside what I considered normal. Yet, at the same time, I felt a spark of curiosity and a deep desire to trust the man I'd shared my life with for over a decade. "And if I don't want this?" I asked finally. Ethan smiled, sincere. "Then nothing happens. We just toast and move on. This is about you, Lauren." I took a deep breath, trying to process everything. A part of me wanted to reject the idea outright, but another part, a part I rarely acknowledged, was intrigued. It wasn't just about the act itself. It was about the trust and courage to consider something so vulnerable and bold. "And you?" I asked James, finding my voice. "What do you think about this?" He leaned forward slightly, his voice low and steady. "I think you're incredible, Lauren. And none of this would happen if it weren't about you, about what you want. There's no pressure here." Another silence followed. I looked at Ethan, then at James, and finally at the glass of champagne in front of me. I knew that, regardless of my choice, something had already shifted that night. In me, in my marriage, and in how I understood trust and intimacy. Finally, I raised my glass. "Whatever this is, I trust you both, and I trust us." We toasted, and the night continued, every moment charged with tension, curiosity, and a closeness I had never experienced before. Ethan's surprise wasn't just a gift. It was an invitation to explore parts of myself I didn't know existed, to challenge the boundaries of love, trust, and vulnerability.